I'm going to talk today about major AGAI 67 action relating to convictions for offences under Section 5 or Section 7 of the Road Traffic Act 1988. So as I have described in previous videos, major AGAI 67 action will be initiated following a conviction in the civilian criminal courts. The sanction is imposed for failure of the service test for getting a conviction. It's not a separate punishment in itself, although it may well feel like that. So the major AGAI 67 action is justified because the conviction itself has failed the service test. Now, under the Road Traffic Act 1988, the offences under Section 5 and Section 7 are different. An offence under Section 5 of the Road Traffic Act 1988 is driving a mechanically propelled vehicle over the prescribed limit, over the prescribed alcohol limit. The limit is 35 micrograms of alcohol in 100 millilitres of breath, and anything above that, driving above that, is an offence. The minimum sentence that a magistrate's court can impose for an offence under Section 5 of the Road Traffic Act 1988 is a Band C fine, and the minimum disqualification period is 12 months. Under Section 7 of the Road Traffic Act 1988, this is the offence of failing to provide a specimen for analysis. The minimum sentence is the same, so a Band C fine and a minimum 12 months disqualification. So you can see that the minimum sentence that can be imposed by the Magistrates' Court for either Section 5 or Section 7 of the Road Traffic Act 1988 is the same, a Band C fine, 12 months disqualification. Now this is important when considering major AGAI 67, and I'm going off March 2019 editions of major AGAI 67. Looking at major AGAI 67 March 2019, the sanction for an offence of driving under the influence, for officers, the sanction is forfeiture of seniority. For NCOs, the sanction is a reduction in rank. For FTRS personnel, the sanction is termination of service. And for private soldiers, the sanction is marking time in the current rank. However, for other offences that have resulted in disqualification that are not driving under the influence, the sanction is less severe. The sanction is marking time in the current rank. Now this is important because an offence under Section 5 of the Road Traffic Act 1988, the offence there is clearly driving under the influence, anything over 35 micrograms of alcohol. However, an offence under Section 7, the offence is simply one of failing to provide. However, the minimum sentence that the Magistrates' Court can give for both offences is the same. Either a Band C fine, or rather a Band C fine and a minimum 12-month disqualification. And so the minimum sentence is the same for either Section 5 or Section 7, but applying March 19 major AGAI 67, the sanctions can be quite different, can be quite significant between a forfeiture of seniority or reduction in rank and simply marking time. Now, major AGAI 67 is not law, and there isn't much by way of a previous case law to apply. So it may be that the matter needs to come down to individual argument on an individual case-by-case basis, which would mean the individual facing the major AGAI 67 would have to explain to their deciding officer, and possibly also their reviewing officer, that the offence under Section 7 Road Traffic Act may not be one of driving under the influence. The offence is simply failing to provide. An offence of driving under the influence is covered by Section 5 of the Road Traffic Act 1988. So you can see that there is a difference in the criminal law legislation that is to be applied at major AGAI 67 sanction stage. The question, therefore, is whether or not an offence of failing to provide comes under driving under the influence at Major AGAI 67, or whether it's a more minor offence, such as, for example, speeding or driving otherwise than in accordance with a licence or driving without insurance, all of which can carry disqualification as a punishment, whether an offence under Section 5 actually comes within that. I suspect there's no clear law on this, and I suspect it comes down to an individual interpretation, and therefore the importance of explaining that position to the deciding officer and, if necessary, to the reviewing officer at Major AGAI 67.